I would like to welcome you to Behind the Chair with JP Hair Design. Today our guest is Reverend Alex G. Reverend Alex G is a longtime Madisonian. He also comes to the barbershop. That's where I met him.
Every week.
Every week. And I definitely enjoy having Pastor G come to the shop. He's one of the guys that keep us accountable in the shop, so I definitely appreciate that. Pastor G, you got some dynamic things going on in the city. A lot of people are jumping behind you, which is a great thing.
It is.
And I wanted to bring you on the show so you can share some of the things you got going on in the city of Madison.
Sure, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I'm going to start by letting you say a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I grew up in Madison. My family moved here from Chicago in 1970 when I was 6. My mom came here to go to college, and so my sister is 2 years younger. We grew up in this community, went to high school, college here, and I had a desire, still do, to give back to the community. I've had some good experiences growing up in Madison, so this is where I'm raising my family, and I've been pastoring for a little over 30 years, and I've been doing community development work through our nonprofit Nehemiah for about the past 21 years. So I love this community, I'm committed to it, and I want to see good things happen in it.
That's good, and I feel that.
Oh, let me say this too. I've been married 25 years, so I also want to mention
yes, sir.
My wife and I met here in college. So.
Oh, cool. That's good. So let's start by asking you, how did this start?
I mean, if we back up a little bit, I've been thinking about experiences that I've had growing up here in Madison. And even when you're professional, you have degrees, you have a family, you own a home, I've experienced profiling or being racially profiled by police, or just weird conversations at work, or going to upscale restaurants and people handing me their keys thinking I'm the valet, or asking my white assistant, oh, you must be Dr. G. So I sat on those for a long time. But then I had something that took place at Rotary, which sort of rubbed me the wrong way after giving a speech about mass incarceration. And I just thought, I want to start talking about this so that some of the brothers who are doing well in this community can show that we can identify with some of the issues that Madison still needs to work on, some of the racial disparity issues. So I felt that if I didn't speak out against some of what I see in the community, then I'd be just as guilty as the people who are who are racially profiling. And so I decided to break my silence and talk about some of my experiences. That led to an article that was written in the Cap Times December 18th. It was only out for 2 weeks. It was the number 11. It was the 11th most read article in the entire year of Cap Times. They wanted to keep the story going, and so it just started growing into this movement where people wanted to talk about race and race relations in Madison. So that's sort of the history and what brought me up to writing the article.
And I remember reading that article, and I remember it was a lady that asked you. It was a white lady. She asked you, why you're not angry.
And she said, I'm so glad you're not some angry black man like, and then she starts naming someone. At that point I realized, wow, she's trying to pit me against other leaders, and she completely misread what I was saying. I called up a friend and asked for an introduction to someone at the Capital Times and said, all right, I want to talk about how Madison is completely missing the racial disparity issues here. We don't even know how to talk about it. So that was really the beginning of how it became an article.
What are some areas the coalition is focusing on?
Well, after the article came out, people started asking, can they talk to me? Can they give some of their input? What has consistently come to the top in terms of priorities have been educational disparity, the issue with mass incarceration, and employment issues. And so those are the 3 areas that we're focusing on. There are many. I mean, there's housing and there are drug issues, but education, employment, and mass incarceration are the 3 topics that continue to resonate with people. So those are the areas we want to make recommendations for.
So what are some of the plans to reducing this racial disparity?
Well, I mean, honestly, this is a huge issue, JP. And it's been going on for years. And so I know that we can't just change it overnight. So I've been fighting the temptation by the media to stand up and say, here's a 3-point plan or the 7-point plan. Because if I do that on my own, they're going to ask, well, what do the other black leaders think about it?
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
so my reason for really forming the coalition is so that I would have other minds looking at this, so that we are looking at it together.
Yes.
We're setting priorities. We're setting agenda items, so that there's a collective voice saying, "Here's what we want to see in our community for our
Right.
boys, our girls, our employment." So we're meeting now, and we're actually developing that.
Okay. So how would people get involved if they wanted to get involved? I mean, you told us a lot of stuff that need to be done, and there's viewers out there that is probably thinking, how can I assist?
Right.
How would they be able to find out about the information?
That's a great question, because it's going to take the whole community. Everyone who wants to get involved will be asked to take a survey, because we want to know what everyone thinks about what the problems are or the solutions. And so if an individual were to go to MadisonJustifiedAnger.com, they can watch the town hall meeting, see my speech, and even the open mic responses. There's a survey there. There's a reply card. You can check what areas you're interested in, if it's employment or if you want to help us reduce mass incarceration. It's all right there. So it's MadisonJustifiedAnger.com, and someone will get right back in touch with you. And that's the easiest way to get input, information, and to let us know you want to be part of our movement.
That's good. Now, you're a pastor.
I am.
How do you know that this is your battle to fight? I mean, there's a lot of things going on, and is this pulling you away from, your church congregation, dealing with
this community is my congregation.
Okay, that's a good
and so, I mean, I happen to be employed by Fountain of Life, but this community this community is my congregation, and part of my ministry is caring for the community. One of my favorite Bible verses is Jeremiah 27, and I'll paraphrase it. It basically says, "Seek the good of your community."
Okay.
What that really means is, if I want a great educational system for my daughter Lexi, then make it great for your sons. Make it great for everyone, because once you do that, then everyone will have a better system. Yeah. I can just take my daughter and move someplace else and say, now it's all better. Part of my ministry is making the system better for everyone's kid. And if I, as a leader, as a faith leader, can't care about everyone else's kid, then I don't really have a ministry. This is my ministry, caring for people.
That's good. That's good. Do you think Madison is at a tipping point?
I do. The Race to Equity report only quantified what community leaders have already known. And we know that as diversity increases in our schools, people will start pulling their kids out, homeschooling, sending them to parochial schools. And we're at a point where people are tired, afraid, and frustrated. When all that happens, then mayhem breaks out. So I think we're at a point where something needs to happen, and Madison can turn on the dime. Okay. We're not Gary, we're not Detroit. We can change some things.
Yes.
So I think that now's the time for action. Madison's afraid that this is just another talking point.
Okay.
That's why we're inviting people to action and to join us, because the coalition can't fix this. Right. The city's got to address it, and that's why we're inviting people to give their input, to sign up, help, support us, so that when it's accomplished, we can say that we all did it together.
Yeah. Very good information, Pastor G. If you want to get involved, please get in contact with Pastor G.
Sure. MadisonJustifiedAnger.com, or you can email us at justifiedanger@nehemiah.org. That's NEHEMIAH.org.
Yes, sir. All right. Thanks a lot for coming on the show.
All right. My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.